this session, we'll understand how to integrate SonarQube into Azure DevOps Pipelines and generate new reports on every commit that the team does into the repository. So to get started, in the previous video, we have set up the SonarQube. We understood how to install and how to configure SonarQube quality gates and quality profiles. So here we will start off with creating a new quality profile for a C# language. Let me create one. This is for Azure DevOps profile, and it's for the language C#. I'll say create. Now I'll just enable some of these bugs. Activate. So I'm basically enabling the rules that I want to be included into the quality profile. Now I'll go to the quality gates. I'll create a quality gate for my ADO QG Azure DevOps quality gate, and I'll add a condition if on the overall code, if major issues is greater than 0. Add one more. If bugs is greater than 0, add condition, and add one more for unit test coverage. Uncovered lines is greater than 0. So what it means is if there's any lines where it is unit testing and the unit testing is there but it doesn't cover a particular line, it would still fail the quality gate. Now coming to the projects, right now there are no projects in this SonarQube. So there are ways to create automatically. You can create a new project automatically as part of your pipelines in from DevOps, Bitbucket, and various other. So wherein as long as you give the parameters, it will automatically create the project in the SonarQube. We will look at in this later part of this video. We'll look at how to generate how the new project will be generated from Azure DevOps. But right now I'll create a new project here. ADO manual project, and the important thing is not just a display name, but we need to ensure the project key is unique for every project, and this is what will be used to publish the reports from various pipelines. Now I'll do a setup. Once I have the project created, if I go back to projects, it says it was never configured. I'll go here and I'll go to project settings, general settings. So this is where I can go ahead and modify the quality gate to be applied. So under analysis scope, you can, as we discussed, you can specify what are the files you want to ignore and all those conditions that you want to ignore. And under general, you can go ahead and configure what are the basic settings that you want to cover. Now if I go here and go to quality gate, this is where I can specify the quality gate which I want to apply. So I can select I want to use the ADO quality gate. So save. So now whenever a new report is published, the condition will be checked against this particular quality gate. Similarly, if I go to quality profile, I'll add a C# language and I'll specify use the ADO profile which I created. So this is how you configure individual profile and individual gates to be used in a particular project. Now with this set project being ready, and then we will now look into Azure DevOps and create a basic pipeline which would allow us to generate a SonarQube report and publish it to SonarQube. So going back to the project, What I have here is a sample code, which is a console.NET 5 based simple console app. It doesn't do much except return hello world. The idea here being just to show how to run the scan and publish the report using Azure pipelines. So with this code being there, now we will look at we'll create a very simple pipeline to integrate. So to get started with integrating your Azure DevOps with SonarQube, first we need to understand how to enable the connection between SonarQube and um, Azure DevOps. So in Azure DevOps, we use something called service connections to generally to integrate any third-party applications or third-party APIs uh, into Azure DevOps. So we go into service connection and then use it, and this is at a project level. So every project you can create and you can still share it to all other projects as well. So you get a set of default tools and platforms that you can directly integrate with. If you just scroll down, you can have SonarQube, or you can even search for the type of connections you need. So I select SonarQube. Next. Now the first thing it will ask you is the URL that of your SonarQube. Now the URL in my case it is always localhost, but if it is connected to a domain or accessible outside or using a custom domain, you will have to provide uh, the actual URL. So now we have given the URL. The next it will ask for the token. It's like your personal access token in most of the platforms. So how to generate a personal access token is go to your account and say my account and go to security. This is where I can create for ADO for Azure DevOps, and then I'll say generate. So now this is the code which I have. Now I can copy, come back here and paste my token. So, and finally you need to give a name for your SonarQube ADO manual project. Okay. In fact, this is not required. Whereas manual automated will use the same service connection. And then you also can specify grant access permission to all the pipelines, which means that all the new and existing pipelines will be able to use this particular service connection in their pipelines. Unchecking this you'll not see the service connection anywhere in your pipelines. So with this service connection created, now we go back to pipelines. Under again here I'm using the visual editor approach. You could do something similar in YAML as well. We'll cover that in a separate video. So now I do a create pipeline and use the classic editor. So first thing I need to do is I need to select my repository, which is SonarQube, and since the SonarQube which we're using here is a community edition, in the community edition of SonarQube you can only run your report for the main or the default branch. So that's a restriction with community, but a licensed version you can run multiple branches. So now I'm going to say empty job. So this is my starting point. So first thing I'll do is since my Sonar is running in a local host which is not accessible outside, what I've also done is I've set up an on-premise agent on this server. So wherein which let me find it. So I have an agent here which is specifically built to running the pipelines in my environment in my server instead of going to the cloud. So by default it says Azure Pipelines, which means that it would pick up and host which is deployed on Microsoft or Azure Cloud, which will not be able to access the local SonarQube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Sonar pool, and this takes care of using one of the agent which I've configured. So you can also look into the description to get a video on how to set up an agent and everything about agents and agent pools. So with this agent selected, now I'll start adding the command. So since mine is a .NET code, I will use this .NET build command. Basically, whenever you are running the Sonar scan, first thing you need to do is to ensure your code is built, especially for a .NET Java kind of technologies. So I'm going to build the project, and I'm going to specify the project. I can say star.cs project. Okay, so now what I've also done is market. If there's a marketplace for Visual Studio, so I've installed an extension which is related to Sonar. You can go here, Sonar. This is the extension I've installed, which will give us all the steps needed to go ahead and add tasks for building the Sonar report. So if I go back and click on add and Sonar, you notice that I get various tasks related to Sonar. What we need to the steps of running a Sonar in Azure DevOps is first you need to have the prepare analysis configuration task. Then you need to build the code after preparing the analysis, and then you go ahead and run and publish. So how does it look? So first is add prepare analysis, go back, and so first you prepare and then you do a .NET build. Now if I again go back here and then I'll say run and publish. So now here it says it needs a settings. So example, now first thing it will need is the service connection. The one which we created here is now accessible, and it is also saying how do you want to run the analysis. So I'm saying here integrate with MS build. We will also look at how to use standalone scanner in other videos. So here I'm saying integrate with my build, right? And next one, it is asking for the project key. So as I mentioned, project key is the key data that you need. Now if I go to project general settings, in fact I can copy here because the project key and name is the same. So I specify project key and I can specify optionally project name. And there are additional parameters that you can send. Whatever we saw at a project level, you can send them as properties here. Sonar.exclusions will exclude the files that you specify. Additional parameters that you need. Now with this basic pipeline, we should be able to generate the quality, the dashboard for this project. So let me also rename the pipeline. Right, so now I'll do a save and queue. So as I said, what it does is it basically uses one of my internal agents. It is looking into the Sonar pool to find an agent. Now, how do I know what is the agent available, whether it's active or not? Is going to agent pools, Sonar pool, and I have one agent which is active and which is online. So now if I go back here, you see it has started to execute. The first step is to check out the code, and then it would run the prepare analysis. This is where it would try to communicate with SonarQube and go ahead and configure and just configure that the project is available and ensure everything is set up for the report to be published. So once the preparation is done, the next step would be to build the code. Again, I don't have a very complex code. It's a very simple hello world. So it will just build the code and then run the Sonar for this particular project. So even here it does a standard, you get restore and then you get build, .NET build. So now it is actually able to run the analysis. It is running locally on the agent, not yet published into the gate. So once you have run is done, if you go into, how do you know when was the last activity? So if you go to activity tab, okay, it's not yet configured, it's not allowing, so I'll show you that. So yeah, so now it is trying to publish. You notice once it is trying to publish, there's a background task where you can see when was the various what are current tasks running on this project. And in this case, there's a publish activity happening right now, which it is started on some time, and it will end in it ended at 16 seconds, and it's a success. So if you go back to the pipeline, it shows everything is success. Now if I go back to the project and you see, and this is what is a Sonar uh, report, a basic overview would look like. You have bugs, that high level bugs and review, and it says the quality gate has failed. Why has it failed? Because of this condition, there is one uncovered line which is not covering the unit test case, which is our main. I only have one line, so it would fail because there's one line which is not covered. So this is a way to uh, configure a pre-existing project in Sonar to be updated from a CI pipeline. Now we'll quickly look at how to edit the same pipeline to create a new project automatically. Now when I do an edit, I'll just edit the existing pipeline. So now in the prepare analysis, I'll just say, instead of editor.manual, I'll say auto project. So this project is not available. As you see here, there is no project called auto project. So I'm just changing the key and the name, and I will go ahead and run the project. Again, it picks up the pool, the Sonar pool, the agent, the only agent available. It does the prepare. Now you still don't see the project here until the report is published. It is running the code. And now it is publishing. So at this point, it would know that there is no project called Edivo Automation. Now if I do a run, you will see one more project called Automation Project. But here we see the status is passed. Why it would be? Because by default, whenever a new project is automatically, the quality gate would be the default quality gate, which is your Sonar way. Sonar way is always built in the default. I'll have to configure it manually. Now there's a way to do this away directly from the pipeline as well. But once you do this change and then go back to projects, and if I just do a quick run again, so this time it should do the same process. It finds the project, it will go and run the quality gate, and the quality gate would be failed because now I'm using a different conditions for my Sonar. So it does run and finally publish. So you can always go back to the auto project, click on background task, and you can see there was one more activity just now done. So now if I go back to projects, you can see the auto project has also failed because of the new quality gate I have created. So this is on a high level. These are the steps to follow for SonarQube, and how to set up, and how to configure Azure DevOps to use Sonar. In other section, we look at how to generate unit test reports and other details. But this is the basic steps that we need to follow with respect to Azure DevOps and Sonar.